stadium lights, the tribute buzz before halftime. My heart racing like it's 4th and 5 on a Midwest Saturday night.
Welcome to a special episode of Mizzou Storytellers. I'm Dave Matter with Mizzou Athletics, and here with
Loretta Jones, also from Mizzou Athletics.
And we have a special guest today to help tell the current story of Mizzou Athletics, and no one better than Mizzou Director of Athletics, Laird Veatch. Welcome back to historic Hearns.
Thank you.
Laird.
It's great to be back. A lot of memories here.
Now, this is your second appearance on this podcast, but we've already kind of told the story of your journey, your story. I think today we've got a little different kind of topic. We're going to talk more about the where, the how, the why of Mizzou Athletics, how we're maneuvering across this new landscape of college athletics. And it's been something we've been talking a lot about lately, and a little bit more as we're getting into the this part of the season. Our staff has been working on a lot of things, and we thought this was another good opportunity to kind of talk about some of those changes that are happening right now.
Yeah, and I think it's really important because it's almost unquestionable that we are going through a time of the most significant change in the history of college athletics. It is dramatic. Most of that, as you both know, kind of circles around the elements associated with the House settlement, and those are many and detailed and complex. I think that for the listeners, really just need to recognize that with all the different elements that are there, we are going to have the opportunity to share over $20 million directly with our student athletes starting next year. And that in itself is obviously a massive change.
Yeah. Well, let's dive into that a little bit more and you made the point earlier this week that we live in this world every day, but we may sometimes take for granted that the fans that are out there, even the really passionate fans, may not quite understand what is coming to not just Mizzou Athletics, but across the board in college athletics when it comes to the House settlement and really revenue sharing. What is that going to mean here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, for all of us in college athletics, it means that we are shifting into even more of a sort of semi-professionalized model, right, where we have the opportunity to compensate student athletes directly. And, being in the most competitive conference in the country, that means we have to do it at the highest possible levels. So there's not this opportunity for us to sort of ease our way into that process. We have to go all in to compete and, to secure the top talent, to compete for championships, do the things we want to do. And at the same time, candidly, as we've shared here recently, we are behind our peers in terms of the revenue that we generate, particularly associated with football. And, that's not just within the SEC, but it includes like regional peers, Kansas State's, Oklahoma State's, both in what we price for football ticket sales and just our overall kind of approach on how we fundraise. So we have some work to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you've addressed it. We've obviously, with all the research that's been done, like Dave said, our staff has been working on it for a really long time now, diving pretty deep into the House settlement and what's coming from that. We actually have some data here. For those watching on YouTube, you can see it. We've got a couple things we want to look at. The first one is how we compare with other schools in the SEC in total revenue. We are just ahead of the Mississippi schools and about $35 million below the SEC average, so not even the top school. It's amplified now by adding Texas and Oklahoma to the conference.
Yeah, absolutely, and it really drives home the need for us to be aggressive, right? In order to really take the next step, the things we want and need to do, and you've seen us have some recent success, particularly in football. So our fans have seen that, and there may be this sort of wonder, well, we're seeing that right now, so why does that not mean we can't continue to move that forward? Well, the reality is our university is helping us kind of bridge that gap, really, and that is not a sustainable model long term. So, we have to do what is necessary and can't really expect to take the next step and really win those championships unless we're at least on a similar, resource playing field.
Yeah, and when we talk about revenue and we talk about a lot of that coming obviously from football, you have to keep in mind we're in the stretch here of 12 consecutive sellouts. So we'll get to how these changes are going to come about, but we are at capacity at Memorial Stadium for 12 straight games heading into the Arkansas game here. So it's not just a matter of, hey, we need more fans to show up, because they have shown up, and so it's on us. and we'll get to this obviously to introduce some changes.
Yeah, absolutely. You see, I think we have another slide coming up
Yep.
that shows how we are positioned from an average ticket standpoint, ticket price standpoint. So when you look at this slide, it shows average donation and ticket compared to our peers. And we're less than half of what the average is in the conference, right?
Yeah.
So and as we've shared before, there's a lot of reasons for that, right? It's
Right.
12 years since we've raised ticket prices, and you can understand that, right? What we've gone through, where we've been, but we can't rely on that position, particularly if you step back and think about it. We talked about this in a recent staff meeting. If you look at the cumulative impact of inflation over that period, that means our potential buying power associated with what we can generate from football is about 40% less than what it was 12 years ago.
Right.
So it has a cumulative effect that's really dramatic, and we're just going to have to find a way to start to eat into that.
Yeah, and again, adding Texas and Oklahoma to the league, really, I think it's eye-opening to see where we stand there in the average ticket prices and the donation average. And you mentioned, the factors why, and we don't have to dwell on those, but we've had 4 athletic directors in the last 9 years, and it's hard to gain traction internally and with changes when you have turnover. And we know what happened here in 2015. We went through a pandemic, so that disrupted a lot of things. But so again, not going to dwell on those things, but there are logical reasons why it's been a dozen years since gone through something like this.
And I think that that's why it was important not only to show these comparatives in the conference, in the SEC, the top conference in the country, but also with other regional opponents, like you said, with Oklahoma State, with K-State, some other Big 12 schools. So they realize it's not just the SEC, it's not just this massive power conference, it's other large conferences and schools that we should compare to.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've elevated the expectations particularly for our football program, and we need to continue to elevate those in all of our sports. Right? But with that, we also have to provide those coaches, the student athletes, with the resources necessary to compete. Right? That's an obvious reality.
Yeah.
Tiger fans, say aloha to Hawaiian Bros, where the island-inspired flavors are positively delicious. You'll love favorites like huli huli chicken, luau pig, and the delectable Dole soft serve. Hawaiian Bros, just south of campus on Grindstone Parkway, or order at hawaiianbros.com.
Laird, with everything that's happening across college athletics, what we touched on, why is this the right time to make these changes that we're talking about?
And I've shared this previously with you and others, but I firmly believe if you just step back and look at like the history of any kind of industry, at times when there is a real significant disruption, that's when really innovative, aggressive movers can elevate their position significantly, right? So we have an opportunity. We're not going to shy away from that. We're going to tread boldly. We're going to double down. We're going to invest in ways that really impact winning. And with an expectation and a will to win, but we're also asking our fans, our investors, to come alongside us in that.
All right, so you mentioned this will to win. What will Mizzou Athletics, what will we do to play our part in that will to win?
I'm glad you asked that and I do really want our fan base to know that we're going to do our part, right? We recognize it can't just be us asking. We've got to invest wisely. We've got to invest in what truly impacts winning. So we're going to go through a process to do that. We are going to go through a process to grow additional revenues above and beyond just what we're asking of our fans directly, like finding concerts in our venues and really, really working hard to elevate the corporate partnerships that we have, generate more resources there. So it has to come across all avenues. And at the same time, we need to hold ourselves accountable to performance, right? We have to not only by how we wisely manage our resources, but by our competitive success, right? And how we perform overall. That's on me and leadership of the university athletic department to make sure that we're delivering on what we're working towards.
Right. And so we've talked a lot about now the department. We've talked about our donors and what we're expecting from them. I think the underlying question here, as a former student athlete here myself, you elsewhere, how is this going to affect the student athlete experience? How does it affect them and what their experience is like at Mizzou?
Yeah, well, first of all, it does look a lot different, right?
A little bit.
I'm sure we both think about those days in the past. I remember having I think one gray sweatsuit that I
I was
got.
just
And
about
then
to say.
I think that was like the universal athletic department, gear for student athletes back then. The gray printed sweatsuit.
Absolutely.
And I don't think what we ate in the dining hall was kind of near to the level of the steak and lobster kind of experiences our student athletes have
Taco
these
Tuesday
days.
was
But
great because we got churros.
Taco Tuesday was
Yeah.
big, and that was another universal athletic department thing back in the day. So that has elevated, right? We have in our world, and primarily for competitive reasons, right? Things have changed dramatically over the last 20 years as more resources have been realized, and that a lot of that's competitive, right? From a recruiting standpoint, you had to do those things,
Right.
So we've got to take now a step back and look at what is really going to drive winning. So that doesn't mean we're going to have a bad experience. We're still going to have an awesome experience, but is what we feed them, does it need to be what it has been? The gear we
Right.
provide, how we travel, can we be smarter? Can we be more wise with how we invest in ways that are going to impact winning? Because now that we're paying student athletes directly, in many cases some significant dollars, that is probably going to be a lot more of the front line of recruiting. So we just got to be really thoughtful and willing to step back and make hard decisions, right? That's again our role as administrative leaders. We need to push that forward with our coaches and our programs.
We've seen incredible crowds already at events this fall, and we mentioned the sellout streak in football. In this building, Hearn Center last Friday night, volleyball had the fourth biggest home attendance ever. It was awesome. I was there. It was an incredible atmosphere against Florida. But I think part of this we'll discuss. We have to elevate the fan experience too. I mean, that's important in our will to win. So where does that fit in?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, I will say I have been really impressed with what I understand has really happened over the last couple 3 years with the fan experience and the investment in that, the intentionality behind it. It's come a long ways. We're going to continue to do that. We're going to continue to invest in that experience. That's pretty evidenced by the money we're investing in the Memorial Stadium project. That we're committed to doing that as well. But I would really like to suggest that nothing quite impacts the experience like winning. Right?
Yes.
So we need to be bold about delivering wins, right? We need to not shy away from the opportunity to provide memories and moments for our fan base that we haven't yet experienced, right? So we've got to do what it takes to get there and elevate that expectation, invest, and continue to push. And that's what we as leaders need to do within the department, and what I know our coaches and student athletes and fans really want.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and with our fan base only increasing, our crowds getting huge, people coming out, people supporting, they're going to want to know how can they help? What can they do? So what we're asking a lot of them through these changes and through this evolution into this new stage of college athletics, what does that look like for them, for our fans?
We are asking a lot, and that's what I also want our fans to know, understand. I agree. We recognize we are going to be asking a lot more, right? That is a reality. As we've talked about, we are going to be significantly increasing football ticket prices, right? Mm-hmm. That's going to be something that we need to push forward. We're going to modernize, as we've talked about so many times with our Tiger Scholarship Fund staff. We need to modernize our fundraising approach so that it really motivates and recognizes philanthropic giving above and beyond those seat purchases. Yeah. And it also really helps recognize and motivate long-term lifetime type giving and recognizes those that have been true leaders for us. Mm-hmm. And at the same time simplifies our process, because a big part of our challenge, and this being on that front line and with our fundraising staff, that it's hard to articulate, right? We've got sort of a confusing process. We've got to simplify that, make it really easy to understand what our priorities are and how to give.
Yeah, absolutely. What now, Laird? I'm sure the next question, the logical question people have, is what is the timeline for these changes? Because we've been talking about coming changes for a few weeks, and we're getting closer to when those changes will be unveiled. So what can we share now? Yeah.
Well, first of all, again, change isn't easy, right? We all know that, but it's coming, sort of regardless, right? Yeah. A lot of this is beyond our own doing. That's part of our industry nationally. With our courts are telling us that our system is no longer defendable. So we've got to change. We've got to evolve and be willing to embrace that. And we're going to be asking a lot of our fans. We're also going to be demanding a lot more of ourselves, as I said. But it's time now And you'll see that in the coming weeks, really, our fans are going to see, specifically what this means, right? So in the next few weeks, we're going to be rolling out, detailed, more direct information, kind of more personalized information to our fans about what we're asking, right? So all that's coming. But, the big point to me is that it's time, because even right in the midst of this incredibly changing landscape, we have great momentum, really good alignment with leadership, and we're in a position to do something that we've never done before, right?
Yeah.
Because of all the things we've talked about. Things are aligned so well in the midst of this change. So we need our fans to join us in this mission to deliver wins at a level that we've never experienced before.
Yeah.
I believe, and I know many of us believe, our greatest Mizzou moments are yet to happen, right? I think that was on a recent podcast.
That was
our
Aaron.
Oh, that sounds
friend
familiar.
Eric Morrison.
Morrison.
He shared that line, and I think we all talked about how that was so poignant because, as a lifelong Tiger himself, I know you all are, and you've seen so many great things. But we haven't quite realized that top type of experience, competing in Final Fours and winning national and conference championships. We need to not shy away from that, right? We need to look at this as an opportunity. Our best Mizzou moments have yet to happen, or Mizzou memories have yet to happen, I think is what he said. I think that's an awesome way to think about this, and we need to embrace it like that. So instead of looking at it as this kind of daunting challenge, let's look at it as an opportunity to do things we've not done before, and kind of collectively shoot the gap and go make them happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I know it's a challenge on our end, but it's been exciting because we had to address this head on as soon as you got here, and been doing it every day since then. So so much work has been put into this, and like you used the word intentionality, and there's really been a lot behind that. I feel like we're in a good spot, and we're headed toward really great things. It's hard. I know it's a lot of hard work. Marcy Girton has a great line. She says, "We have to be great at hard," and it's hard right now. I get it, but I really feel really good about the leadership and the direction, and for all these reasons we just laid out.
Yeah, well, and I think you hit it on the head earlier when you said, we have been having success where we are already. So imagine what's going to come and what's going to happen when all of this work comes to fruition.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's exciting to me is there is another level, right?
Yeah.
We've got great momentum, but we have upside, we have opportunity, we have potential that's not been realized, both in terms of the investments that can be made in our program and the levels of winning and experience that we can achieve. So
Absolutely.
It's awesome to be at a place and at the same time be on the biggest platform in college sports, right? We're in the SEC. We have this opportunity. So instead of kind of looking at it as this daunting, challenging thing, let's go,
Right.
lock arms and make it happen.
Great support, great alignment too, which you touched on, and that's incredibly valuable as we're moving forward. So really, really happy that you could come in and we can share that. We can kind of push this message forward as our will to win. We're just gaining strength here with that. And I know fans have a lot of questions, and hopefully we answered some today.
Yeah, absolutely. And there'll be more answered here soon. So.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, Laird.
All right, take care. MIZ.
ZOU.
This episode of Mizzou Storytellers on the Inside Mizzou Athletics podcast is brought to you by Shelter Insurance. Ranked number 1 in customer satisfaction for auto insurance in the Central Region by J.D. Power 5 out of the last 6 years. We're your shield. We're your shelter.
Well, that was really good. I think it was our shortest interview, but we covered a lot of ground.
We did, and I think it was really good. It's like you said, we are living in it. We're here every day. We talk about it in the office and our staff meetings with each other, but not everybody is privy to all of that information.
Right.
And so it's nice to have it all explained and make sure that all of our fans understand what's coming and how it's going to operate.
And it is a little hard to understand. These are really new concepts for college athletics, and we're tackling them every day in our conversations and meetings. But if you're on the outside, it still kind of seems like, really? Everyone's doing this? You guys are doing this? Yes, we are.
Well, and I think that's why
leading the way.
The charts that we showed, that we talked about, which for anybody listening to the audio podcast, you can click on the link and go to our YouTube page to see them. It's good to see that, because I think that's been our story for a while, is that we're a little behind the curve.
Right.
And you look and we're pretty far behind the curve.
Yeah, we are, and these numbers are eye openings for our fans who have been season ticket holders for a long time, and to their credit, they're just paying the price that's been out there for them. They don't have to pay attention to Auburn's prices or Oklahoma or LSU's prices, but the reality is we are behind, and we need to not necessarily catch up, but we need to get to where the market rate is for our tickets, and that's just one piece of these changes that Laird talked about that that we're doing, and now's the time. Like he said, there's we can squabble about when is the right time to do this, but now is the right time because it needs to happen with everything that's changing in college athletics, and it's going to be here really soon.
Yeah, we have to put ourselves in the best position to succeed.
Absolutely, and I think we've got the leader to do that, and you heard why in his conversation there. So that was great. Glad that he could find his way back to historic Hearns.
Yes.
I think when we had him on here, Steve, you might remember he had an office right around here. I think was it in this room? Was Laird in this room, or was he across the hall?
Eric or Brent talked about it.
Everybody at one point had an office in here.
Yes, but like their office was like just across the hall. It might have been Brent talking about the ticket office, and that his office was right across the hall from him.
Yeah, Joe Swingle just started
a
few months ago, and he and I were walking the Hearns Center. When I used to work in the athletic department, I worked down the hall on Friday, and then on Monday I worked in the MSP offices, and I was like, this looks like a closet. So I was in there. Well, Joe and I were walking, and he goes in there and goes, hey, this was my first office at Mizzou. And I was like, that was my office when I came down to MSP.
Wow.
So, like, everybody's
That's really cool.
in a room or something like that.
Speaking of new rooms, how's the new podcast studio coming?
I'd like to ask you guys about that. Let's put you on the spot here, huh? Yeah.
If we just say it out loud and speak it into an existence, it will happen, right?
Then our millions of listeners will start writing in and asking when they're going to get to see it.
I think we need stadium seating in it, too.
Oh, we need some.
Oh,
absolutely. We need some couches or some big comfy chairs. I mean, this chair's great, but
But I want like a giant screen, like where you can do the split screen and like people can call in.
Oh, yeah. That would be great. We could zoom in some of our letter winners.
Yes,
on
absolutely.
your Rolodex.
I've had quite a few that have said that they would be more than willing to come on here. So,
really?
Some of them are just tougher to get here in person, so we would have to figure out some kind of a video option.
Have a magic big huge screen. Yeah,
that'd be so
that'd
cool.
Be cool.
This episode of Mizzou Storytellers on the Inside Mizzou Athletics podcast is brought to you by Sophia's and Addison's Restaurants. Sophia's and Addison's Restaurants are great local spots to visit before or after all Mizzou home games. Addison's has 2 locations in Southwest and downtown Columbia and features over 20 beers on tap, including local brewers and, of course, their famous Nachos Bianco. So remember, before or after the game, stop by Addison's.
Speaking of potential guests, Steve, this is news for you. A halftime guest coming up this men's basketball season. I don't want to say which game. Our very own Roman Alexander.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I hope Josh Moore in marketing's not mad at me for saying that, but I think we could maybe get him in the studio that day.
And this may be the first guest that we will actually plan significantly far in the future.
What if he brings his guitar?
I was gonna say let's do like a Howard Stern and get, like
Roman unplugged.
Let's make it a real thing.
Wow.
Here.
Like, I don't know how I feel about that. I feel that could go south real fast.
No pressure, Roman.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
no
great.
pressure.
It's great. I think we
But
should.
see, like you said Howard Stern, and then you said Roman Unplugged, and like those are two different things. Like Unplugged, I think of like Eric Clapton or Gavin Rossdale.
Yeah.
Howard Stern's not what I associate with.
Well, he has guests.
Well,
musical
Howard
guests
Stern
in,
would have
they
musical guests on.
Yeah,
and,
Bruce Springsteen was just there a couple weeks ago.
Can't really have a whole
He's
live
still
band.
around. Not Bruce Springsteen. Howard Stern. He
Yeah.
still has a show.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Of course he does.
Wow.
He's been on Sirius for
Long time.
20 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll have to reach out about
Hit up the
not only the
Googles.
interview, but a live performance.
Live performance. Got to bring his guitar.
Can we ask him to write a special song?
Oh, for the podcast?
Yeah.
I mean, we can ask.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Let's do it.
All right. I will reach out via Instagram, direct message today, and we'll see. So I don't want to say what game because, schedules can always change.
Yep.
And I don't even know if I had permission to say that, but I did, and it's out there now. So
So now it has to happen.
it has to happen.
Just like our podcast studio.
It does. Yes. We're getting a lot done today.
Yep.
This is maybe our shortest episode and most productive.
Let's go.
And we've got a will to win. That's why.
We do have the will to win.
Will to win. All right. Loretta, our best Mizzou memories have yet to happen. And this is Mizzou Storytellers. I'm Dave Matter.
I'm Loretta Jones.
We'll talk to you next time.